we are filing a lawsuit against Donald Trump for violating the law as part of his efforts to generate profits for himself, his family, and his company.
New fraud charges filed against Donald Trump, his children, and the Trump Organization by the state of New York as the former president's legal troubles mount. We speak with Trump's former lawyer, whose congressional testimony sparked this latest lawsuit. Hello and welcome to Inside America with me, Ghida Fakhry. Donald Trump has faced countless lawsuits over the past 3 decades. There have been reportedly thousands of legal actions involving Trump and his businesses in federal and state courts, ranging from real estate to personal defamation lawsuits. Last week, the Attorney General of the state of New York brought new charges against the former president and 3 of his children, alleging massive fraud.
The complaint demonstrates that Donald Trump falsely inflated his net worth by billions of dollars to unjustly enrich himself and to cheat the system, thereby cheating all of us.
My first guest may well have laid the groundwork for the New York case against Donald Trump in testimony before Congress more than 3 years ago.
Did the president ever provide inflated assets to an insurance company?
Yes.
Who else knows that the president did this?
Alan Weisselberg, Ron Lieberman, and Matthew Calamari.
And where would the committee find more information on this? Do you think we need to review his financial statements and his tax returns in order to compare them?
Yes, and you'd find it at the Trump org.
Michael Cohen joins me now. He served as Donald Trump's personal attorney from 2006 to 2018 and is a former vice president of the Trump Organization. He was convicted for campaign finance violations and other crimes, including fraud, perjury, and tax evasion, and sentenced to 3 years in prison in December 2018. He was released in November 2021. He is the author of the book Revenge: How Donald Trump Weaponized the U.S. Department of Justice Against His Critics. Michael Cohen, you've worked very closely with Donald Trump for over a decade. You gave evidence, key evidence, before the U.S. Congress in 2019 when Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez probed you about whether Trump himself had ever provided fraudulent asset information. The investigation by the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, has now found that he overvalued his assets by billions of dollars and decided to sue the former president. Just how significant is this latest lawsuit against Trump? Is he in serious legal trouble?
Yeah. So first of all, you may recall that there's like an old adage, right? The unsinkable Molly Brown. But we have the, unstoppable Letitia James in conjunction with the district attorney's office. That, again, to this day, I still can't figure out what was going on. Tish James has now filed a 220-page lawsuit against the Trump Organization, against Donald Trump, for decades-long improprieties in terms of how he overvalued assets and deflated the value of assets for the sole purpose of winning, as he would like to call it. Do I think that this is a problem for him? Absolutely. And one of the things that a lot of people have gotten wrong so far is that they claim that the settlement amount being $250 million. That's not correct. What Tish James made very clear is that is her base. So she's not going below 250 based upon not having all of the requisite valuations to see just how far Trump's behavior and the Trump Organization's behavior has gone. I believe that the number will be somewhere between $750 million to $1 billion in penalties and fines.
The allegations, as you say, are extremely serious, though we all know that you don't joke around with the IRS, the U.S. taxman. Could Trump ultimately face criminal charges for possible tax evasion, Trump and some of his children?
Yeah, so what you also saw is that she has now referred this matter off to Merrick Garland, to the Department of Justice, but also referred it to the IRS for prosecution. And it is a real problem. Look, I know they charged me with 5 counts of tax evasion going back to 2012 through 2016. And, I have a book which is coming out in about 14 days from now entitled Revenge: How Donald Trump Weaponized the US Department of Justice against his critics, rest assured, I promise that I'm going to come back after you see it and you read it, because I didn't tax evade. Donald tax evaded. And it's going to be a very
if
interesting.
the allegations are so serious, though, why did the Attorney General choose to file a civil lawsuit, not a criminal case?
Well, because in conjunction with the district attorney who was handling at that time the criminal matter, I guess they broke it. I don't know the answer. That would certainly have to be a question that somebody would have to ask Tish James. But
what would have been the key difference between the two, a civil lawsuit or a criminal case? What would have been the key difference?
What's the key difference between the two is basically the penalty, as well as the extent of the proof. In a criminal matter, Donald Trump, like he did, he pled the Fifth Amendment, meaning the right against self-incrimination, to every single question asked of him except for his name. That works in a civil lawsuit because you could then imply from invoking the Fifth Amendment a sense of guilt, where you cannot do that in a criminal case. One of the things you also have to remember is that in October, you're going to see the New York District Attorney's Office bringing a criminal case against the Trump organization. Now, we've all heard Alan Weisselberg, the CFO, claim that he will not testify against Donald Trump. I don't see how that's possible, because Donald Trump is his eponymous company.
If you knew he had defrauded the government for years, as has been claimed, do you regret not coming forward earlier, not at least ringing the alarm bells before he ran for office?
Absolutely. I made many mistakes, including, but again, I think it's just important that you understand the role that I played. Not every one of those 200 allegations that are raised in the lawsuit came from me. Tish James interviewed, 50, 60 people, including Jeff McConney, who was Alan Weisselberg's assistant comptroller, and many other people. So I'm not so certain that all 200 of them came from me. But yes, I absolutely regret having anything to do with Donald, with accepting the job when I was first asked to join the Trump organization in 2006. Absolutely.
Are you concerned that you might face some kind of prosecution for possibly complicity of sorts if Trump were to be criminally charged for tax evasion, or do you now enjoy immunity because of your cooperation with the Department of Justice?
I have that in the proffer agreement. I have no liability in this.
You predict that this case will terminate the Trump organization and that one or two of his children might have to fall on the sword of their father. Who will ultimately pay the price? Is it Trump or his three children, all senior executives within the Trump organization?
Right. If it's a question left up to Donald, it would be one of his children, certainly before him. And, let's just call it the hierarchy. I think that he would probably send Don Jr. first, Eric second, and Ivanka third before himself. But rest assured, he will send the children before he goes himself.
Do you think they will all be indicted, and can he avoid ultimate indictment?
Look, Donald is going to fight. That's what he does. He's going to fight. He's going to delay the matter as much as possible. But also, one of the things that I spoke about with both the Attorney General's office and the District Attorney's office is the manner to which that, he will delay these type of matters in the event that something changes, whether it would be Congress or the Attorney General. Don't know, but whatever it's going to be a delay tactic.
Well, Donald Trump, as you know, has repeatedly claimed that he is the victim of a political witch hunt, that this is all about politics. How will this play with his base? If he is indicted, could it help his political chances in 2024? If he can run for office, if he is indicted, he could even run for office if he's in jail.
Well, that's true. However, his base is right now waning. Now, would I say that he's losing them by the big percentage points? No, but I think people are getting very tired of Donald always playing the victim. Remember, what Tish James laid out is a multiple decade long fraudulent scheme in order to defraud the United States government and the taxpayers of substantial money while collecting hundreds of millions of dollars in tax benefits. Do I think that people are interested in Donald in the 2024 race? The answer is no. Do I think he's going to run in 2024? I have consistently stated the answer is no. If he does that, remember the super PAC that he's raised hundreds of millions of dollars for, he's no longer able to do that. He's no longer able to use that money. Once again, I stand firm.
But Republicans have come to his rescue, though. Financially, you've said that this will wipe him out, that he doesn't have the cash, that it could cost him up to $1 billion in restitution. But there are many in the Republican Party who've been coming out to his rescue and fundraising for him to pay for his legal fees. Will he run in 2024? And if he did,
with all due respect,
doesn't he have a strong and loyal following that could actually allow him to win again?
Like I was saying, with all due respect, he paid. They paid $3 million of his legal fees to this new lawyer that's there. We're talking about fines and penalties in excess of $250 million. My prediction, more in the ballpark of the $750 million range. There are no Republicans coming to his rescue on $750 million, no matter how hard he tries to fundraise. More than that, you're not going to see a Donald Trump primary where he's the only candidate. You're going to see dozens and dozens of candidates, Republican, who want to be the next president of the United States, including people like Ron DeSantis.
And could they take him down?
Already polls are showing that if DeSantis went head to head with Trump today, DeSantis would win, and by at least a double-digit margin.
Let me ask you about the potential indictment he is facing for taking classified documents to his Florida home. You said that he's likely keeping these documents as bargaining chips to avoid any jail time. I mean, can he ultimately avoid jail time if the DOJ presents solid enough information against him and convinces the jury, or is this still open to negotiation?
Well, everything is open to negotiation in the event that they want to. What we have here are documents that are classified as top secret, located in an unsecured area, which is outside of where it belongs, which is the National Archives. He has already violated the Presidential Records Act. That is an irrefutable statement.
His supporters, though, have been saying that we do not know exactly what is in these documents.
Well, they do know. You may recall that they stated that there were that some of them were nuclear information pertaining to other countries. He's not supposed to have those documents. In fact, he's not supposed to have any documents. Now, there were certain letters that he would want to take, like the love letters from Putin or Kim Jong-un or whoever else that loves him, but he's not entitled to have those documents. Those documents belong to the American people.
Just final question, Michael Cohen. If he does run again, and if it is a repeat of Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, who wins?
Well, look, my belief is that Joe Biden wins again. Personally, as much as I'm, very pleased with the way that many of the things are going under the Biden administration, obviously not everything, it's just, I have certain beliefs, you have certain beliefs. There are things that I would like to see significantly changed, like prison reform, or I would like to see the entire overhaul of the Justice Department, which is, again, what my next upcoming book, Revenge, is about. These are things that I would like. Do I think that Joe Biden's doing a good job on those? The answer to that is no. But are there other things that I'm impressed with? The answer is yes. I think Donald Trump is so toxic right now, I don't think that anybody could lose to him.
All right, Michael Cohen, so good to have you again on the program. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
So just how solid is the evidence against Donald Trump, and could he be found guilty? In addition to the New York civil lawsuit, could criminal charges be brought against him and some of his children for tax evasion? And which other charges could the former president face? There are 19 legal proceedings currently open against him, including 7 related to the January 6th insurrection, 4 proceedings involving his finances in New York State and 1 in Scotland, as well as the Department of Justice's federal proceedings over classified documents removed from the White House. Now, with Trump claiming that he is the victim of a political witch hunt, Could a possible conviction or indictment re-energize his base? And what would a possible prosecution mean for Democrats ahead of the November midterm elections? In recent weeks, President Biden has taken direct aim at Trump's Make America Great Again supporters, warning voters about the choice they face just over a month from now.
Democracy will be on the ballot. Americans will have to choose between the MAGA Republican platform, who have embraced extremism and the big lie, Democrats, independents, and mainstream Republicans who believe in the rule of law.
Joining me now to discuss President Biden's strategy is Jake Auchincloss, a Democratic congressman from Massachusetts. Congressman Auchincloss, it is just a little over a month to the November midterms, in which I know you are running for re-election. Democrats are still struggling, though, aren't they? Can they take advantage? Can you take advantage of the legal challenges facing the Republican Party's standard bearer, Donald Trump?
Democrats are in strong position to keep our majorities in both the Senate and the House. I know that pundits are saying it's a lost cause. I don't agree with that. President Joe Biden and the 117th Congress took office facing the worst public health crisis since World War II, the worst crisis in our democracy since the Civil War, and the most complicated economic situation since the end of World War II. And since that time, we've put the pandemic behind us and a strong economy ahead of us, while fighting the GOP's attacks on women's rights and our very democracy itself.
Congressman, the latest polls show that the Democrats perhaps aren't doing as badly as initially anticipated, but they're still in a predicament, aren't they?
There's no question that there are headwinds facing the party in power in a midterm cycle. That's been true since at least World War II, that the president's party tends to lose seats in the midterm elections. But there's nothing typical about this election cycle. There's never before been a extremist wing of the GOP like this that has been seeking to undermine our very democracy, that wants to roll back the clock 50 years on women's reproductive health care, where they have so clearly been on the ballot. And I think voters are going to recognize the clear choice before them in November between a party that's looking to lower healthcare costs and take climate action, and a party that wants to take this country backwards.
And the president has taken on what he called the MAGA Republicans, that he accused of semi-fascism. Looking at the legal troubles surrounding Donald Trump, Democrats could use this to their advantage, but by doing so, they could also vindicate Trump's claims that this is all a political witch hunt. It could undermine the confidence of Americans in the justice system, couldn't it? What will Democrats do? How much of a bind are they really in?
Donald Trump's legal challenges are not political, they are constitutional. They should be above party. And as we've seen with Liz Cheney and her allies, they can be above party. We're not prosecuting Donald Trump because he's a Republican and we're Democrats. It's because he broke the law. And in the United States, we believe in equal justice under law, regardless of who you are. You can't steal votes. You can't incite an insurrection. You can't try to blackmail the leader of a foreign country. These are things that are illegal. And if you do them, you're going to be held to account. It's not a witch hunt. It's the law.
Well, Trump and his followers are saying it is a witch hunt. But nonetheless, I mean, his tactic seems to be to delay the legal proceedings against him. Will he succeed in slowing down the wheels of justice for another 2 years in the hope of being reelected president of the United States? And if so, what will the Democrats do?
I'm not going to prognosticate or play pundit about Donald Trump's legal strategy. For 50 years, he's been trying to outrun accountability and has been using the legal system to avoid first paying his debts and now paying his debts to society. What I can say is that his character stands revealed to the American public. Everybody knows who he is and who he wants to take care of. And the answer is Donald Trump. Donald Trump only cares about Donald Trump. He does not care about the American people. Democrats care about the American people. We are working to lower healthcare costs. We are trying to take climate action to leave our planet better than we found it for our children. We've invested in generational bills in infrastructure and science and technology and domestic manufacturing. It's about moving forward. I think we all want to put Donald Trump in the rearview mirror. Democrats offer a plan to do that. Republicans want to take us back to a situation in which we're running this country out of the Mar-a-Lago mafia.
If the DOJ, though, doesn't move forward on any of these legal proceedings, if such a scenario were to materialize, what would it do to the country, to the confidence of Americans in their justice system, in their judicial system, in their institutions, even in their political system?
Holding somebody accountable to the law for breaking the law reinforces that we have an independent, fact-based, empirical judicial system. I don't think it's appropriate for politicians to meddle in law enforcement. I'm not going to comment on the specifics of any of the multitude of cases in front of him. We're going to have judges and juries and prosecutors and defense attorneys who are going to litigate that. What I can say is the fact pattern is a searing indictment of his character and his actions. And Americans should have confidence that no matter who you are, whether you're the most powerful person in the world or whether you're a newcomer to our country, you're going to be treated with due process, and we're going to let the facts and the law speak for themselves.
You say he needs to be treated with due process, but yet you and many other Democrats seem to already have indicted him.
Well, we've impeached him twice in Congress for 2 impeachable offenses. In fact, he should have been convicted in the Senate both times. So the fact pattern has already been clearly laid out. It is already being laid out now by the January 6th committee about his actions leading up to the insurrection. There are separate legal proceedings, one in New York about Trump University, or the Trump Organization, I should say, one in Georgia about the vote fraud, one in Mar-a-Lago by the FBI for his handling of classified documents that are extra congressional. They are outside of the congressional process. Those, I'm not going to comment on the particulars of fact or law, but I will comment on issues that Congress, of which I'm a member, has adjudicated, and we have impeached him twice because he's committed impeachable offenses.
Will you be able to move forward, though, Congressman, if Republicans gain control of the House and the Senate after the midterms? Because there is already some members of Congress, perhaps, who belong to what you call the extreme wing of the Republican Party, who have been floating the idea of impeaching Biden, saying there's mounting pressure on Republican lawmakers, if they win control of Congress, to do so after the midterms. How concerned are you that there could be that kind of retaliation?
We should be very concerned about the idea of Kevin McCarthy holding the gavel in the House of Representatives or Mitch McConnell being the Senate Majority Leader. We should be very concerned about that. Kevin McCarthy's first phone call, if he is sworn into Speaker, will be to Donald Trump. Make no mistake, Donald Trump will be pulling strings in the House of Representatives to get Kevin McCarthy to dance as he pleases. And that should concern every American who saw the depredations and abuses of 4 years of the Trump administration.
And yet, you and a few others have been pushing a centrist message of cooperation with Republicans. Will that resonate with enough voters, given the way the country is so deeply polarized and divided among blue and red states, conservatives and liberals, Republicans and Democrats?
I don't subscribe to the labeling of centrist, progressive, et cetera, because it's issue by issue. On issues of climate, of reproductive rights, protecting our democracy, of common sense gun safety legislation, there are very few members of Congress who have been more fiercely progressive than I have. I'm also willing to criticize my own party when I feel that they are getting it wrong, because we need independent thinkers in Congress. And I'm also willing and indeed at times eager to reach across the aisle to get results for my constituents, because when a road gets paved or a bridge gets built or a water treatment facility gets constructed, voters don't care whether that was a Republican or a Democratic idea. They just want to see results. And I'm committed to delivering results with reasonable Republicans as I'm able to do so.
All right, Congressman Jake Auchincloss, thank you so much for being with me.
A pleasure.
In just 5 weeks, Americans elect the 118th Congress, with Republicans possibly regaining control of the House of Representatives and/or the Senate. Now, unlike previous ones, these elections could be pivotal, as Americans will also be voting for or against someone who is not on the ballot, former President Donald Trump. Not only is he expected to run again for president just 2 years from now, but he may very well win again. Few expect his legal troubles to deter him from running in 2024. When Donald Trump was elected president in 2016, he'd already had numerous encounters with the U.S. legal system, but no one had bothered to count how many. America elected someone who, according to U.S. media reports, has dealt with justice in more than 4,000 cases. But now the former president faces a major civil lawsuit for fraud, reportedly backed by solid evidence, which could render him, as well as 3 of his children, criminally liable for tax evasion. As Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States, wrote in 1789, quote, "Our new Constitution is now established. Everything seems to promise it will be durable, but in this world nothing is certain except death and taxes." And so in short, while nothing is certain in politics, Trump's PR strategy may pay off in a few weeks as Republicans make electoral gains, but it has not stopped the wheels of justice from turning, slowly but steadily. He may have tested the Constitution and gotten away with it, but testing the taxman may prove to be his biggest blunder yet, if one believes Benjamin Franklin. That's all from me, Ghida Fakhry, and the team in Washington. Thanks for watching.